What's something most men don't know they can do? Haggle at jewelry stores. Sometimes you might be able to get a cash discount or just maybe a lower price if you ask. I discovered this when I was a little short on a pendant I wanted to get, and the salesperson said we can make that work when I let them know how much I had. I tell them, my budget is much lower than it is. Then when they think they're getting me to stretch past my budget, I'm actually within my comfort zone. The clerk found the perfect ring, which was like $300 over my budget, but I ended up spending about $500 less than my real budget after getting their best warranty, lifetime maintenance package. Shulda seen her face when she was trying to soften the blow of the total, and I told her what my actual budget was. She was great though. You can also haggle at Best Buy. A couple of years ago, I was buying a large TV and my wife was with me. Right as I was about to swipe my card, she stopped my hand and started haggling, something I had never attempted after shopping there for over a decade. We were gifted a $150 gift card on top of the 5.1 soundbar satellite combo that came with the TV. She didn't stop haggling and got a Nintendo Switch with a couple of games added. The TV didn't fit in our SUV, so she haggled free next day delivery. The TV delivery had a couple of failed attempts, so she called to cancel, and we were told to keep the gifts for our troubles. We went to another big box, had them price match Best Buy, and add a $150 gift card. She was never rude or pushy, but is attractive with a Y accent. Get breast cancer. Everyone has some amount of breast tissue naturally, and lower chances still aren't zero by any means. If you find any hard lump in any part of your body that doesn't belong there, ask a doctor about it. Even if you don't think you should be able to get cancer, cancer can appear out of literally almost any cell in your body, even if some are more likely than others, and unless you're a medical professional, you probably also don't know where all the dozens of lymph nodes and stuff like that are placed under your skin, which can easily become cancerous in a place you didn't know you had something. It's not just the increased amount of breast tissue that makes women more likely to get breast cancer, it's also the changes that tissue goes through with each menstrual cycle, which is part of the reason we see much lower rates in poor or subsistence farming communities or other populations where women spend much of their fertile years pregnant or breastfeeding, which both suppress those monthly changes and may only experience a tiny fraction of the number of menstrual cycles of women in more developed countries. But your greater point still stands. Men definitely can get breast cancer, and often it can be much worse for them, as early detection is much less likely, effectively no screening for it. Breast cancer runs in my family. I remember being in Health CL. Somehow we were talking about it, and the teacher said, "Does anyone have breast cancer running in their family and is at risk of developing it?" I raised my hand. The entire class laughed at me because they thought it was a women-only disease. I felt embarrassed, was already gay with long hair, and lots of people thought I was trans and bullied me for it. At least the teacher was educated and told them men can still develop it. It was an embarrassing moment for me, not traumatizing, but I think about it every time I see breast cancer mentioned. I'm thankful that my teacher was able to turn it into a learning experience for the entire CL though. Fold your balls over the side of yours so it looks like a sad hot dog. If you bend your to a U shape, be soft and put a nut on top and a nut on bottom, it looks like a hamburger. Especially if you pull the skin back on your balls, the little dots where the hairs are look like sesame seeds. When I was like 11, my girlfriend and I watched a where it was weird like that, so I bet you could find the instructional video on it. The position is called the hamburger if anyone wants to try. Don't know what the was called. Also, I think it get referenced in the movie Waiting, but I can't remember. Say no. I assume you're talking about saying no to, but I'm going to redirect it a bit because the words are the same, but context is different. Before I do, I agree with your point 100%. So often we people, not just men, allow ourselves to become so busy that saying yes to something is actually saying no to something else. Saying yes to that social thing you don't really want to go to is saying no to personal time. Saying yes to helping a friend move is not being able to help a different friend with their own move. So many people are used to giving until it hurts, overextending themselves for various friends and obligations, but people need to be comfortable saying no to all of that. Within reason, of course. Don't be a jerk. Leave her. It's a goddamn shame I couldn't. She left me after she broke me, eat my heart, chew all my feelings, and spit em on the ground. For 6.5 years I didn't even know this was an abusive relationship. Even though I still try to solve her for bad family, bad mother, dead father. I hoped so hard my love could someday enlighten and warm up her frozen heart. I'll be 35 this year. I feel so lost. I left and then she showed up at my parents' house with a 3-page essay on how I'm a piece of and cheated on her and how my parents should disown me. I'm just now 3 years later after being in a legit healthy relationship realizing I was in a pretty damn emotionally abusive relationship. We lived together and I got the dog, so that says something I don't know. Never cheated on her. She asked me to get help with my alcoholism and I went to a detox center, which she then accused me of pretending was a lie despite me telling her on my way and calling her from it every day. They take your cell phone and having a 3-day affair with a girl I had been friends with for 12 years. If we were gonna bang, we would have already. Read the instructions for the furniture. I'm a professional handyman, and I started reading the directions as an act of professionalism. It humanizes me because many of my S's come across as magical to untrained eyes, but more importantly, it saves me time. The instructions were written by someone who's already thought through the process, so it saves me time from having to think it through, and it prevents me from assembling things in less efficient, intuitive order. Raise a child without the mom. I lost everything when she left. I just showed up for my boy no matter what. We bonded beyond anything I thought was possible. The system believes they belong with the mom. This doesn't mean you can't do it. Just dig no matter what forever. He's snuggling his girlfriend and puppy on the couch right now and playing Minecraft. What the? Okay, I haven't done it perfectly. Koopla edits. Thank you so much everyone for the love and support. I'm feeling it. Please don't forget about your own health. I did have a major heart attack about 8 years into it, without any family history, and I've had a fairly healthy lifestyle for a while now. I don't have firm data as to if and how I was affected, but stress and trauma don't just disappear. Lastly, therapy. Play therapy for the young ones. It's the best. And maybe firstly, the Minecraft bit was a joke. Hilarious to hear him playing it with his girlfriend. She was asking him to build this and move that in their house. Gulp. After my divorce, I applied for custody of my daughter. My daughter was 2 and it went to her mom. The day before her 12th birthday, she ran in through my front door screaming her eyes out. On her face was a handprint. She had several bruises and was missing clumps of hair. When I asked her what happened, she just replied, "Mom." She begged me not to send her back, and I explained to her that the only way I could do that was if I took her to the police station, which I did. We were separated immediately, which at first angered me, but afterwards, I understood. They asked me what happened as they took measurements of my hand. After several hours, my daughter and I left the station after being told they were going to arrest my ex. Long story short, I got full custody and it was the best thing that happened to us both. We quickly got into a routine. She'd do her homework as I cooked. We both did housework together. Life was really good. About 3 weeks later, I was called into her school to be told she was a different child. It wasn't all a fairy tale, especially when boys started turning up at the door, but as my grandmother used to say, you don't own your children, just borrow them. Multiple orgasms during. I need to know what multiple orgasm means for guys. Is it come once, then have a rest, then continue later for a subsequent one? Or like ejaculating a few times in a few minutes without going limp? 'Cause I've been doing the latter when jerking off, but it's harder to do during, 'cause my whole body will probably too tired after the first one. But this one girl actually rode on top me and going at it pretty hard, and when I told her I was about to come, she just quietly acknowledged it, but continued riding. Made me come several times in like 5 minutes or so. My gradually got softer but never limp during that time. Is this a normal thing for guys? One thing that many men may not know they can do is to seek out emotional support and counseling when dealing with mental health issues or life stressors. Many men feel like they need to tough it out and not show vulnerability, leading to untreated mental health issues and a lack of support. However, seeking out help can lead to improved mental health and overall well-being. 100% this. I reached a point I had planned my suicide to the day. Reached said day, and the only reason I didn't go through with it is my coworker nonchalantly said, "You aren't yourself. I mean, You are all joking and smiling, but your eyes are sad. Talk to me. It was the first time I had felt seen and had someone tell me I could open up. Thanks to her, I'm alive 3 years later and doing immensely better. Talk to people, be it a supportive friend or therapist. If issues are beyond just talking before you reach a critical point, it's okay to be broken once in a while. A million times yes. I work in long-term mental health and most of the people I see are men. They wait so long to talk to someone or get help that they hurt themselves, hurt someone else, or can't dig themselves out of a bad place and have absolutely no one to lean on. Get help as soon as you need it. Normalize men talking about feelings. Men need to talk to each other about feelings. Men cannot only have a significant other to speak to about feelings. They need multiple outlets to speak to, especially single men. And sadly, many men feel that they don't have friends at all, let alone someone they trust talking to about their feelings. It has caused a major drug and jail issue among men. I did that, got called narcissistic, toxic, and an emotional blackmailer. This is after being there for her all through her uncle's illness, financially supported her, emotionally supported her, and physically supported her by babysitting her to kids and picking them up from their daycare that was an hour out of my way, and not once through all that I never asked for my money back or anything. And the moment my mental health declined and thought, because she said that if I needed to talk, then talk to her, and to trust her, I get treated like that. Also, she then accused me of using her. Like, what the? How in the hell did I use her? And just like that, she turned everyone against me because she's the girl and I'm the guy. I lost everyone in a matter of days. I literally have one friend that stuck by me and didn't believe her. So, yeah, believe all women and whatever. I promise that item you're looking for in the fridge or pantry is sitting exactly where you are currently searching. My ex, he was looking for something in the pantry and I said exactly where it was. He went and checked 3 times. I conceded and got up to find it. It was sitting exactly where I told him. Where was this object? It was on a shelf head height right next to where his head would have been. I'm 5'4", he's 5'11". All he had to do was turn his head slightly to the right and it was right there in his face. Wasn't behind anything, just proudly sitting there for all the world to see. I asked him, "Did you look with your eyes closed?" He wasn't happy with me for the rest of the day. I get manicures and pedicures with my wife all the time. What does enjoying your life have to do with being a man? Have honor, have acceptance, be patient, and love. That's being a man. I'm a factory worker and I clomp around in giant steel-toed boots all day long. My feet are so calloused the skin is basically leather armor. I had a bourbon sugar foot scrub while on vacation, and while it took an orbital sander with 80 grit sandpaper to get all that dead skin off, after it was done, my feet were so soft and supple it was amazing. I kept stroking my soles in surprise at how much change happened so quickly. 11/10 will absolutely do again. Gay dude here. I compliment guys all the time. A guy I work with was wearing a new shirt because he'd been going to the gym and lost some weight. He's kind of dorky, super nice. I told him he looked really nice in that shirt and I could tell he'd been working on his shoulders and back. He thanked me for the compliment awkwardly. But after work, about 9 p.m. or so, I was lying in bed and he texted me and told me thanks for the compliment and that it had made his day. He said he had never been complimented like that before. I've complimented guys before, or told them they were handsome or whatever, and I've received similar responses. I'm always a little baffled. Dude, about at least 15 years ago, I was on a train and this very elderly black woman sitting across the aisle kept staring at me, to the point where it was starting to make me feel really awkward. Finally, my stop came and I started gathering my stuff and getting the person in a wheelchair I was with ready to disembark. She motioned for me to come over and said, "Most men don't look good in cowboy hats, but you look terrific." I really mean that. I still think about it once a week probably, especially coming from her. I'm sure some people who look like me have probably said some not great things to her over the course of her life. Change. It takes effort and it takes commitment, but you can change something about yourself you don't like. Personally, mine was my attitude. I was a gigantic hole until I realized I was tired of being angry all the time and hating myself, started Zoloft and started giving myself time to think about things before I got mad. I still remember the first time my girlfriend called me out on my better attitude. I realized I had changed a little, and it was working. A lot of guys think just because they aren't teenagers anymore they can't do things different. You can. It just takes time. I still work through some issues, and life isn't perfect, but I'm happier now than I was then. Might not be much, but I'll take it. Not letting people use them for financial gain. Saying no is the best thing I ever learned. Girls do like you, brah. More so if you work on yourself. I spent a lot of time when I was young online, and especially in progressive spaces there is sort of this culture where men need to be humbled a lot, and you hear a lot of bad stuff about us, so you can easily take it to heart. Don't know how you like girls? Want to date them? Do the touchy stuffs with them? Spend time? They want that too. You just need to put in a bit of effort to find them. FEDs does not represent most girls. Dude can relate. I literally never approach anyone or assume I'm being hit on because it was drilled into me that girls get hit on all the time, so you should be better and you shouldn't assume someone likes you because they could just be being nice. Which is all true, but there's an extreme where there end up being guys who never date or have romantic relationships because they think if they make any kind of acknowledgement that someone could like them, they'll be the villain they always read about. I honestly don't know how to balance this, to be honest. Still working on it, because I also know guys who hit on anything with legs, and I don't want to be that guy either. It's tough to balance. As an aside, I was watching Full-Time Wife Escapist on Netflix the other day and thought the MC was very relatable in how he reasons why someone doesn't like him. Being a dad even when the child isn't yours. My best friend's sister was falling on hard times, and I just bought a 3-bedroom house. She calls me up one day and asks if her and her 6-year-old daughter could move in till things get better. I said sure, no prob. They lived with me for 6 years, while her mom went to college, worked, and saved up enough to buy a house. We were never romantically involved at the time, and it never really crossed our minds. When her daughter turned 10, I saw her going through the same struggles I did at that age growing up without a dad. I wanted to do something I wish I had someone do for me. So I sat her mom down and asked if it would be okay if I became dad and took that role. It was a strange dynamic because her mom and I were just good friends and not romantically involved at the time, but I was willing to make it work. She said, let's ask her daughter. So we did. My daughter is 23 now, and I'm still dad and always will be. Craziest thing is, after sitting down one day last year, her mom and I got to talking and came to the realization that we've known each other for 30 years, lived together for 6, parted ways, under good terms, lived our own lives, but we always came back together and were constants in each other's lives. We got married last November and never been happier. That when women are abusive, both physically and emotionally, in the relationship, and know the name-calling isn't just one of her quirks, nor is the berating she gives you over the smallest thing happening. You can file for divorce, seek help, go to mediation, etc. Her acting like a boss in the relationship and controlling every little thing you do is not normal and what wives should do. It's give and take equally. No man should settle for an abusive relationship. And never should they stay for the sake of the kids. They're miserable too from all the fighting and bull. Something to add to this, if one of your mates is experiencing this from their partner, then support them. Don't just joke and laugh it off. We need to stop normalizing relationships where the woman is being the abusive partner. If someone is taking all the money coming into the relationship and giving pocket money to the partner, then that is financial abuse. If someone won't let their partner hang with their friends, then that is abuse. We all know at least someone who has gone through or is going through this kind of situation, and we need to be supportive instead of joking around about it. I saw a video of a guy interviewing a drag queen, and she said that not only do you tuck your, but apparently you can push your balls inside you so the sack comes down empty. That blew my mind when I found out Lemfau, although it sounds like a recipe for testicular torsion for me. I figured that out as a kid just playing with my balls. If you put a little pressure on your balls from the underside, you can get them to slide up under the skin on either side of you, and if you go up high enough, there's a spot where they sort of recess down under the surface. I stopped doing it though because I was freaked out they'd get stuck in there. I think you could basically give yourself testicular torsion too if you're unlucky. So if you try this and then your balls start to hurt, you've probably cut off the blood flow and should see a doctor before you lose it. I think a lot men don't realize their value with women. Like, women are obviously not as horny as men in the sense that they're not always just desperately DTF, and when men are young, they interpret that as women don't care about hooking up with men at all. Like I used to think. I was ugly for years despite having all sorts of really desirable traits that I didn't even realize I had until my mid-20s. For me, it's not about the lack of hookups, it's that I don't receive interest or acknowledgement from women in general, or their signals are way too subtle, which pairs with my already low self-esteem to lead me to feel that I have no value or desirable aspects. I know that isn't true from a logical perspective, but I struggle to overcome the feeling and I don't know the solution. However, I think you're right for a lot of young men, and plenty of older ones too. Thanks for the insight, you Yacker 5000. Be friends with women. I have plenty of female friends and is awesome. And yes, you might be attracted to them, but the more you befriend other women, you realize which ones are attracted to you and which ones are not by the way they act around you. Do they laugh at the dumbest, you say? Do they tap you in the arm? Do they go for hugs? Are they down to go out only with you? To restaurants? To get ice cream? Then maybe they're attracted to you. If they don't do that, the congrats. You have a female friend and is so nice to be able to be more emotionally open and vulnerable to a friend and not just your express platonic, non-familial affection. This comment should be higher up. I'm a woman and sometimes think about how often my women friends are physically affectionate. Whether we're laughing or crying, there is always a hug, a casual hand on the arm, a shoulder squeeze. Then I watch men and it breaks my heart to see how many are only ever touched when they are fighting, playing sport, or having. I really like traveling to places where it is normal for men to hold hands with their friends. Humans need touch. Going for regular health checks for your private parts. Men of Reddit, please do this. Get your annual physical. Yes, it is weird having someone grope your stuff looking for lumps. The ladies go through much worse. You need to do this though. I am alive because I did this. Testicular cancer is no joke, but it can be dealt with rather well if you catch it early enough. You may even get to skip the chemo if you get checked out often enough. I did not, and had to have the chemo, but turning my head and coughing still saved my life. Have female role models. Most men, if you ask them to name a woman that they admire and look up to that they don't know personally, aren't related to, they can't. More people need to be this way with both ES. It's very silly to have a role model or people you look up to instead of specifically just admiring certain traits that they exhibited. Having role models is just a shortcut that's psychologically easier than taking the time to parse out the actual good things you would admire about somebody. Wouldn't it be easy for me to have female role models if I had no male role mode? Most men don't know that they can completely reinvent themselves by lifting weights and walking. If you consistently use a weightlifting program and follow it with a decent diet and 30 minutes of walking on a high incline, not only will you lose weight, you will gain strength, feel better, sleep better, and gain confidence too. There's this stigma about guys talking about this, like we are trying to be the next Andrew Tate or brag about how strong we are all. My brothers, I am telling lifters are in a community that want to see each other thrive.